And I will introduce Margaret Marie, who is the author and counselor trained in trauma recovery. She received a master's in science in rehabilitation counseling with a specialty in psychiatric rehabilitation. Again, I am Sue Hansen, the reference librarian here at Cicero. NOPL is Northern Onondaga Public Library at Cicero. I wanted to invite Margaret so that we could have a nice discussion about taking care of yourself in light of Mental Health Awareness Month in May. There are some programs and resources available through Northern Onondaga Public Library. Check them out on our Northern Onondaga Public Library page, www.nopl and www.nopl.org.
.org.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And Margaret has material that she has published. In New York State, she's a professional for 32 and a half years, and in the last 14 years has worked as a program support professional under contract. She received training in trauma recovery and keeps that up to date. She has 3 books that she's authored. No Weapon Formed Against Thee Shall Prosper. Another title called Choose Well, The Choices You Make Affect Your Destiny. And a book that is on the shelf at Cicero called The Girl Without Shoes, which is an autobiography. And Margaret also has her own website, margaretmarie.com. Welcome, Margaret.
Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to go over this again. Sue is the reference librarian at North Onondaga Public Library and Cicero, New York. And she plans programming and builds fiction and feature DVD collections. And I want to thank you for having me. And she did just tell you what the website is for NOPL. So I just want to say welcome to staying healthy physically, mentally, and caring for yourself. So that's what this discussion is going to be about. And we're going to start out with some basic ways to physically care for ourselves. So question away.
Sure, I've got some questions that touch upon what are some ways to physically care for yourself.
Well, this is very basic, but normal care is you drink plenty of water. If somebody's on medications, obviously it might not be a possibility to drink a lot of water, but follow your doctor's orders. And to have meals, some people suggest like 6 small meals a day, but it doesn't have to be that, just to make sure that you're eating nutritional meals every day. Exercise, and a lot of people are into walking today, and I think it's a wonderful idea to just walk daily, making sure that you're getting your body in the good shape that it needs. And a big thing that people do often, neglect is rest. When their bodies need it, rest is very important. And we've been going through a traumatic time right now with the pandemic. So there's been added things that have been stressing on our bodies. So it's important to, do things for yourself, pedicures, manicures, hairdressing appointments, or a massage therapy, or different activities that can help us to make up for the things that we're missing out on because of the pandemic. People cannot be hugging and snuggling and doing the things like holding hands. There have been such, no-nos about that. So we're not able to have that physical contact. So it's important to find other ways to receive that type of, and we were talking about, when we were talking last time about, the hand lotion. So many people, and one of my clients was telling me that she notices when she's stressed that she would just sit and hold her hands like this. But what is a really very therapeutic thing to do for just relaxing yourself, it's to apply hand lotion.
Yep. So the experience I had with a therapist, she was not acupuncture, not masseuse, but she used a lot of oils and rubs and massage. And she said that you start from the knuckle and you put some pressure on and pull all the way out to the tips of your fingers, each finger. And I think I automatically do it without even noticing when I need it. And that just gets
very relaxing.
going. because that's the exercise. The physical part is the circulation. And then the touch is I think is more of the emotional, social, it's cognitive in many ways, so that the mental touch is there, or you're getting that connection with your,
Mhm.
you
That
know,
you're
your
touching
partner.
yourself.
Yeah. And then I do say that going to getting a haircut, washing your hair, just physically touching, getting the massage going. When I get a wash, it's that there's always a little bit of a massage that the hairdresser applies at the back of the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually the highly trained ones.
Mm-hmm.
I've not always had it, but when I do,
Yeah.
I know I'm going to go back to her or him.
Exactly. Yeah. You mentioned the back of the neck, Susan. I was reading an article. It's called the love hormone, but it's released out of the pituitary. Actually, it's called the love hormone because it's supposed to aid in reproduction with man and woman and things like that. But if you rub just the base of your neck where it reaches the spine at the tip of the top of the spine, and if they've proven that it can release this hormone and cause people to calm down. It's a calming effect, just like the same calming effect that comes upon a mom and a baby when they're nursing, and also many other functions. You can read more about it, but it kind of takes. It also is supposed to be emitted when you hold a person's hand, or when you hug somebody, or when you do the massage that we were just talking about. So even though we had this freedom in the past to just hug whenever we wanted to, there are really natural ways that we can cause the calming and the peace to come upon our own bodies just by checking those things out.
So the other question I have to ask you, Margaret, is how do we care for ourselves now socially that connection is no longer there?
Well, we're fortunate that we did talk about those simple things that we were saying. Going into a hairdressing appointment is something that now today we have to be a lot more careful. But we're very fortunate that we're able to do what we're doing today: talk on the computer, the phones. We can talk and do FaceTime and communicate through electronic technology. I do feel that I don't know what they would have done in the days where they had to go to the corner store and use a telephone. You know what I'm saying? So we're very fortunate we can involve ourselves with somebody. But the downside of it is people sometimes become isolated and they don't make the choice to involve themselves with other people. So my suggestion is to, if you're not already in a book club, or some kind of a songwriting club, or some kind of a teaching class. I'm in a few myself because I made the choice to do that, to not stay isolated. So it is a choice that we all have to make. We just say we need to engage, we need to reach out, we need to be involved with other people. So it is an effort. There are music lessons you can take online. People can take classes, go back to school. And I know there's a lot of those things going on right now. I saw Facebook is flooded with them right now.
The thing that the libraries offer when you check our website, we have book clubs that are on Zoom. Nonfiction at Brewerton. There's a romantic book club at North Syracuse, and Cicero I will be starting a mystery book club at some point. So, and then there are clubs out there, CNY Reads, where even if you didn't read the book, just check out CNY Reads on Google and see what books are being discussed through the Syracuse stage. Recently, they had the Frank Baum, the life of Matilda Jocelyn Gage, her daughter Maud, and Frank Baum, and then the recreation of the Wizard of Oz. So that's a local. Finding Dorothy. Yes, Corey.
That sounds good.
Yeah, feel free also, just in the middle of, if you have any questions, to put stuff in the chat. But in the general senses, there's a lot going on virtually and then eventually outside.
Absolutely.
With kids' story times.
Yeah, Facebook is full of singing classes, music classes, songwriting classes, art class. I mean, it's amazing what's available now. You don't even, and then the library, those are some good suggestions. If people are working from home, which is something that's been a new development of many people working virtually, they have to take the time to reach
Yes.
out and make the effort to step out of the little comfort zone that they're in
Yeah.
and join something
Yep.
that can keep them involved with other people. So
there are places that are now coming back into, that there's been so much transition to hybrid
right.
that there are folks that know that they have the comfort of being able to choose, which, is a good thing. We're not forcing folks, but we're eventually going to allow folks to start coming a little bit, to help themselves to things that we haven't been able to do since last year. The browsing is happening, computer time. But also what folks don't know is that there's a concern, there's a trigger, because suddenly now there's a little bit more of a fear of coming out from maybe being used to one thing and now changing to another.
Exactly.
I was going to ask you that, is what is the most frequent concern seen with mentally seen with the pandemic?
I think that we've all heard from CDC the pre-existing conditions of people that are elderly, people that are already dealing with mental health issues, or they're high risk at this time, and people that are maybe involved in an addictive cycle, whether it be drugs or alcohol or bulimia, or any of those types of addictive behaviors. And there are people that are just not able to take care of themselves mentally and emotionally very well. And so this pandemic has put each one of them in a much higher risk state.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that people that were never diagnosed with any kind of an anxiety issue or post-traumatic stress issue, I have seen a larger number of people, with these other problems developing. And you mentioned that the biggest problem people do face is fear of changing, going from one routine to another, and trying to find a safety spot, a secure spot, when there's so much transition and insecurity out there right now. And so a lot of people are afraid to venture back out to be around a lot of people. It's a stressor.
So yeah, we just haven't seen a world pandemic at this number, at this
We
level.
never have. No, I mean, we're all in the same boat as far as that goes. But the
Not
number
always,
one,
yeah,
did
not
you
always
want
as
me to
bad.
just go ahead?
I know that the focus is bad, but we'll keep that in mind, that it's also, there's some light there at the end of the tunnel.
There is, absolutely, yes. We're all hoping that, we're on that right road right now where the light is. But the biggest problem, I mean, those were the high risk problems I just mentioned. The biggest problem that I've seen really coming forth is anxiety. Increased number of people who maybe never experienced the level of anxiety before are now exhibiting more anxiety. The whole world is like you said, shaken up, and for sure. So, and anxiety it is not always a bad thing. Sometimes anxiety is in our bodies or in our abilities to have is a hypervigilant emotion for our abilities to protect ourselves. So it's the level that it goes to that will perhaps present itself as a non-function. We become non-functional because of the anxiety. That's when it becomes a real problem. And so this is what we are seeing, though, people who already did suffer from anxiety, and then all the uncertainty from the pandemic, much more heightened level of anxiety. So there
It's
are different things.
not healthy to dwell on the past, to try to get a way to make that. It's kind of what you talk about in choose well. Your choose well book about not trying to put that past somewhere. I don't know if it's called to compartmentalize or what the word is,
Yeah.
but to put it
Well, we have to tell her,
aside.
yeah, tell ourselves we're not living in the past. Although it's very difficult if somebody's laying in a hospital bed in the hospital with COVID, and try to tell them just calm down. It's actually happened to me. I was in the hospital and not with COVID, but at one point in time, and a doctor came in and told me to calm down. It's difficult to do, but I'm just using a raw example. When we get a handle on the fact that we are a little bit out of control with anxiety and it is taking away from our actual functionality, then we are, we can talk ourselves out of it by like what you were referring to. No, I'm not living in the past, especially because some of the new anxiety causes a flashback to an old situation that happened when you were very unsafe, when you were very uncomfortable. So it is we have to learn to self-talk and learn to tell ourselves, we're not there anymore. A grounding ability is to just look around where you're sitting and say, okay, I'm sitting at a table and there's 5 chairs, and you talk about where you're at and talk yourself back into the present, and don't go to the past. Like that's what you were driving at. This has been a very unique time, though, and I want to quote the George Averill. He teaches disaster, mental health, and resilience at Johns Hopkins. He said, this is one of the most psychologically toxic disasters in anyone's lifetime, and continues to say, this pandemic is a disaster of uncertainty. He says the greater the uncertainty surrounding the disaster, the greater the psychological casualties. So, no, we don't want to stay on a catastrophe mind, that this is never going to change. I do believe we are on the way out of the situation, but nonetheless, he is somebody who deals with disaster all the time, and he makes a statement like that from Johns Hopkins that this is what a lot of people have been facing, and the casualties have been great. So it is important that we do learn what is going to bring us in a safe place, each one of us individually, to be able to go from day to day. Yeah.
It's in many families as well that the added responsibility, we'll talk about this later, of homeschooling has increased the anxiety as well, just the coping. And I think that's now that kids are back, it's kind of like, now we're back, and it's the fear maybe of, I don't want to reverse this. I want this to continue going forward at that point. I guess my question is, what are folks doing in all different kinds of patterns? Their natural way of being is to let their kids know everything is okay.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about it later, like you said, with the children, but just with the self-talk, this is what you're referring to, is just the self-talk. I feel bad for all of the mothers and fathers who are not accustomed to homeschooling, and then suddenly they're given this responsibility of their future Ivy League or whatever a child is going to, their goal is for the future. So I think they've done a wonderful job. I mean, everyone that I've heard and talked to who've taken on the homeschool aspect of teaching has been, it's impressive. It just shows that you can do a lot more than you ever thought you could do. If anyone had thought, I'll be homeschooling a few years ago, they'd say, they, never would have believed it. But self-talk is something we have to adopt for ourselves. Like if my self-talk would probably not work for somebody else's self-talk. So it's what that you can say to yourself that can calm yourself down given the circumstances, and to draw yourself back to, I'm going to get through this. Just examples I could throw out with my own, like this isn't going to happen forever. I need to focus on just the goal for today and get through it one day at a time. And I'm not going to catastrophize about
one day at a time is the thing.
Yeah, that's big for everybody, really. We don't know what's going to happen.
You plan the next day or 2 days. I think I've heard in psychology terms, it's like you have a window or a window of a day.
Right.
There's lots of different terms for it. Like, I think, yeah, I can't think now, but just the,
But setting goals, if you don't have a goal,
Mhm.
then you are less likely to be able to achieve the goal. I know when I get up in the morning, if I say I'm going to mow the lawn today, I usually mow the lawn today, you know. But if I don't want to give myself any kind of a goal for that day, which ends up happening with people who become depressed, unfortunately, and people get it in like a slump. Um, when we were in lockdown, I think a lot of people were like that. I'm thankful we're coming out of that now, and people, you know, can do what's right to get themselves back on track. But telling yourself this is not what you went through in the horrible days of whatever bad thing ever happened, because that does happen. People shade their present experiences through the glasses of what's now making them very anxious.
I think the
So
term I've heard is horizon, through the horizon,
horizon,
what's possible today.
yeah.
Uh, I may
No,
not
that's
get
very good.
to the
That's
post
very good.
office, or you may not get to the laundry, let it go. And I am
Right.
guilty of that.
Yeah. I think everybody is.
I think keeping
um,
grounded in the now, keeping grounded in the now, reaching
right.
others, trying to be
Absolutely.
encouraging by a phone call, online group, sending a gift. I mean, that was the very beginning. I wrote letters to shut-ins when
Right.
that was something I knew I could do. I'm not a mask maker at any
Right. Right.
means. Or cooking something for a neighbor. I had neighbors say, please don't bring anything over. And then one neighbor saying, sure, you can bring something over.
Right.
Uh,
Right. It is good to reach out to your neighbors. A lot of times people assume that they don't want any company, and but you know, you're probably going to be very pleasantly surprised when you do that. It's not just them that gets the blessing; it's also you,
yeah.
because you're going that much farther out of your comfort zone to kind of help and encourage somebody else. That always strengthens you. Very important.
Self-care.
Yeah. And we have like lots of statistics. I don't really know if you want me to go on with that during the
I
time
think
we're
I think
talking
we
about.
can do a little bit and then we'll take a 5-minute break before we go on with the children.
Okay.
What's going on with kids? If you have some statistics right now before we get into the
It
break.
was kind of along the lines of what we were talking about. One third of Americans displayed clinical signs of anxiety when we were talking about anxiety and how to deal with that, and depression, and that's from the Census Bureau. Um, so this is all related to the pandemic. So rather than just go over all those statistics, I want to uh, offer the New York Project Hope Emotional Support Helpline, which is 1-844-863-9314. And their website is https://newyorkprojecthope.org.
I'm putting that in the
Get
chat.
it? Do you want me to repeat anything?
Yeah, I think I need to retype the number 1-844.
863-9314. You got the beginning of it.
So this is something that we can, the chat will be available the next time the recording is available on our homepage,
Okay.
or any information that is shared can be emailed as well out when folks have questions. But go ahead with some of the information. I just wanted to shout out.
Okay. This is one big fact that I thought was very important. That only 50% of employees are comfortable discussing mental health issues with their bosses, and the other 50% obviously are not. So this is presenting, the pandemic is presenting another whole avenue of programming, I think, in people's place of business. People need to be, I think, looking at, do we have a sufficient EAP program to allow all employees to go freely and discuss any kind of a mental health concern without any fear of losing their job, that kind of thing. So that was something that they were quoting. And we had a whole section on coping techniques, which you started to go into with self-talk. But I think the thing that works the best is behavior therapy or cognitive restructuring, which we talked about a little bit before. It's because we sometimes need a structure, a tool that can help us walk through something that's causing us a great deal of distress. So it's been known in the past as REBT, and it was developed by Albert Ellis. There's many other behavioral therapists in the past, but what it tells you is A is the event that today is causing you great distress. B is what do I think about it? And C is what are my actions as a result of what I think about it? Now, there is a D and an E in the actual original construct, which is just basically D is, refuting and saying, no, I'm not going to buy that the thought that I'm having right now. It's refuting the construct. I have actually different examples, but like you just ask yourself, if something happened today in the midst of a day that's already very uncertain, right? The A is the event that's causing more aggravation. Am I thinking right thoughts is B. So as B comes along, you kind of, the reason I threw this construct out there is it's an easy thing to remember, A, B, C. There is a DE, and it's disputing. D is disputing rational thoughts and beliefs, and E is emotional and cognitive effects of revising these thoughts and beliefs. But it's all under Albert Ellis's cognitive restructuring, and people can look it up and Google it if they want to know more about it. But it is a really good tool to try to bring you home, like we were talking about goals for the day. Mm-hmm. It's a good tool, pardon me, to bring us down to, wow, I'm really thinking wrong about this whole situation. Yeah. And if we don't realize it, ask ourselves, what about the way I'm thinking is helping me right now? And then C is, what do I do as a result of what am I thinking? So if we can get our thoughts back on track and we set the right goals for what we're doing to deal with the dysfunction, then we're in a much better place.
I think that's great. And, I think this, to tie it all together, we've got a couple joining us, is the fact that some of the ideas of how we may reach out, and when you see what others, I know Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, he always says to kids, look at what the helpers are doing. What's going on around you? Look around
right.
you.
Yeah.
To get that groundedness.
Right. He's a genius, and that is absolutely right. He uses a technique of grounding, getting yourself, also educated by what other people are doing, and get yourself oriented about what is going on. Did you still want to take a break and come back to talk?
We could still take a little bit of a break. We had Susan Timmerman has just joined us. Welcome, Susan. It's Margaret Marie, the author of her books, Choose Well. We're talking about making choices in self-care. The chat is open. Thing that you'd like to, I lost my camera. Hang on.
Hi, Susan.
Let's see if I can.
Did we lose you?
Yeah. That's okay. Sometimes my little box I might have kicked it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm back.
There you are.
How long that lasts. So,
all right, we want to keep going. I appreciate that Susan joined us. No, both Susans.
No questions. I don't see any questions at this point.
No questions at this point.
There were some things we posted in the chat. The one thing was the New York Project Hope.org.
Yeah, I'll get back to it. Yeah, I got that from it was a recent article in Forbes. So it was talking about employees, assistants,
Okay.
and I thought it was a wonderful idea to add it. If I can just find it now.
Yeah, hope.org. Okay, talking about EAP programs, which are employee assistance.
Right. And that is something that, a lot of people, it's a bad perception to think that, I'm having a rough time and can I get help? Because people feel they're going to lose their jobs or their credibility. And so honestly, the helpline, which I'm going to have to get it to you. Maybe you want to get it at the end so that I'm not like taking time because I'm flipping through and I don't know what.
For this Tuesday afternoon on WRBO Public Media, for NPR News, heard across central New York and
I'm going to mute. I think, yeah, let me mute a few people so I don't have the background.
Okay. Okay.
Mute myself.
People want to be credible at work, and it doesn't mean that if you're struggling with a day, it doesn't mean it makes you incredible at all, but if anything has brought people to a place where they struggle a little bit, this pandemic definitely has. The New York Project Hope Emotional Support Helpline is what that is. Did you get all that? New York Project Hope Emotional Support Helpline. And you did get the phone number because I saw it on the screen. But the website is https://ny Project Hope, all one word, .org. And I thought that was a really good suggestion. Forbes magazine, who deals with, businesses obviously all the time, and that this, if your place of work doesn't already have an EAP, it's a good idea that the managers and directors take into consideration trying to get a component of EAP on site so that all of their employees can receive any kind of help emotionally that they might need. And it might just be a temporary step through, to get them back on track. There's a lot I can say about the RET, but it's also important to know that that's the cognitive restructuring to help deal with events that are troubling. It's good to work through it with a therapist or somebody who can bounce off ideas and also journal, talk about things in a journal about your emotions. And it's something you work through. It's not something that happens every day and it's done. It's a process that you work through. So we're talking about children. How have the children been, affected during this time? We've had to teach children, little ones, and basically that's how I broke this down is any child under 5 has to be taught wash their hands, even though they don't understand maybe the magnitude of what's going on, but people need to police this effort with the small children, that they don't put their hands in their mouths, that they wash their hands repeatedly, and keep them a small little plastic thing of hand sanitizer and make sure it doesn't taste good or look good or smell good, because you don't want them eating it. But if they're taught not to eat it and taught that it's very important to use it on your hand, it's something that we need to probably police that effort. And then children 6 and teen, they do need to be discussed. I suggest family meetings. I think family meetings are really important when you have something severe going down, whether it be in your own family or in the world like this. Talk to the children about the whole, all the guidelines and making sure that they're abiding by the guidelines and explaining to them, the older ones, that it's severe that it could be something that would cause them, complete harm, and death. And of course, don't catastrophize it because they're children and you don't want to terrorize them. But the other thing we already touched on was the homeschooling. Children are now not able to be in drama and art so much. You haven't been. I mean, things are going to be opening back up. So I think this is we're lucky there. But they've missed out on friendships. They've missed out on music class. They've missed out on a lot of extracurricular activities that they wouldn't normally, and they've had to adjust to. They were maybe madly in love with their teacher, and now they're adjusting to their mom and dad homeschooling them. So it is a challenge for the children. And I do have statistics, which I don't know if it's really that important. There's a few stats of kids who say that this has been a good change for them. They get to see their parents home more, things like that, and they really don't mind. They're doing well academically. Things are going well. There is a small percentage of children that are not doing so well from the homeschooling situation. And it's not all homeschoolers. It's just those usually that have already, we talked about this already, suffered from some kind of an emotional or a mental health situation anyway. And those are the ones that you see those statistics are ringing the most true with. So, and they said that young women, 27%, were more likely than young men, 13%, to have the mental disorder. So that's just something I wanted to add to that. So there's like all kinds of statistics that people can find, but with the children, this is the one thing I really make sure that I want to say. If the children see the parents panicking and hoarding and stressing, then obviously the children are going to be panicking and hoarding and stressing and pointing the finger and worrying about things that perhaps are a little bit too heavy for them to have to worry about. So I just say, we have to self-talk ourselves, get ourselves to a place where we're calm and in a place of safety emotionally, so that we set those good examples for the children. And we've talked about it. It's lots of things that are going on right now that are uncertain. So did you have any other questions, Susan?
Yeah, I'm looking through and I think we've covered a lot of it. There are statistics out there, but I think keeping the chat or asking participants, Corey and Larry, I think have left. But Susan, questions for Margaret. I did briefly introduce her. She has written some books and she is, so these books are available as well as her book that we're discussing is Choose Well, The Choices That Make You Affect Your Destiny. Anything that you can add on about the book?
I lost you, Susan.
Yep, I'm going to get myself back.
Oh, okay.
I think it's my audio.
Well, in this particular book, this is Choose Well, the one you were just mentioning. I did talk about the cognitive restructuring a little bit. And, it actually talks about what the value of it is to work through those kinds of constructs. If you have a construct, sometimes you can look at things a little more clearly. If it's just everything's muddled in your head and you're worrying and reiterating thinking and negative thoughts just are overruling, it's good to try to, use a tool to try to get you into a place where, what am I thinking? Why am I letting this bother me so much? And that kind of thing. So the purpose of this book was, when I was, inspired to write it to begin with, is that there are, decisions that we do choose to make. Like we were talking about reaching out to do socialization and doing things virtually now during when we can't hug and we can't meet with people into large groups. We have to make a conscious decision to do what we know is safe for us. So, and one of those things is setting good boundaries, which I do talk about in this book too. And boundaries is just a 101 thing that everyone needs. It's the method to keep yourself safe and protect yourself in a place of safety and security, and recognize that not everything around you needs to be invading that space. Be able to say no to things that are bad and yes to things that are good to you. So yeah, those methods are in the book that we talked about, and the whole purpose of it is to try to get ourselves to go in a different direction if we feel like we're maybe heading in the wrong direction. So does that answer your question? Yeah, okay, awesome. So I welcome your
I see my
interest.
camera go out again, but that's because of the connection. I wanted to ask you about what you would have put out on your blog, if there's any information people, when they go to your website.
Oh, yes. I have, the blog has a resource sheet that talks about, because a lot of, like the first book I wrote, which is this one here. This is No Weapon Formed Against You Shall Prosper. This is very, very specific to people who are struggling with domestic violence. So on my website, there is a resource sheet that talks, there's some hotlines for people who maybe or may know somebody who's stuck in a situation of domestic violence or abuse. And so those are on there. I do a blog. I think my last entry was in honor of my mother, was because Mother's Day is coming up. But mostly they're just encouraging entries to talk about life and to try to, inspire people. Trying to think of what else is on there. I was in a national interview with Caleb. I believe that's on my website. And I was in a couple TV interviews. And so that talks a little bit about what I do. And I do have a couple ads on YouTube that people can check out. It talks a little bit more what I do. The third book was this one here, since we're talking about them. And that's, the one that you said is on your shelves there at MOPL. Thank you for having the book there. And that's just a different type of book. It's the second one, Choose Well, I showed you, is more like constructs and tools to try to help people in making the right direction decisions. And this is just an overview of my own life. So it does also try to help and teach and direct. We talked about this before we met. If I didn't use cognitive restructuring myself, I definitely, things would have turned out much differently for me. So given some background of trauma myself, it was something that was very helpful and brought me to a place of great safety and health mentally and emotionally.
Well, we thank you for sharing all of the books, and we're most likely looking at purchasing another book by you. I believe a copy of the two that are about restructuring. And again, it's Choose Well. The choices.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And you're welcome. The other one was, just make sure I got the right titles here. No Weapon Formed Against Thee Shall Prosper. The second was Choose Well, the choices that you make affect your destiny. And we thank you, Margaret, for your time. If there's anything, I don't see anything else that anyone has questions about, but I welcome folks to check out future programs in May. This was Margaret for in light of Mental Health Awareness Month. Our North Syracuse Library has putting together librarians putting together some resources that may be checked out on our Noble page, noble.org, and you can check out what's going on and what's happening at the bottom of our website. Our blog is there with future events, and I thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. And I do encourage people. I've dialogued with people all over the world on my website, margaretmarie.com, and there is a spot on the website that says Contact Margaret. And, it's all free. People have called, written to me, on the website. And I've answered. Sometimes I can't get right back to the people, but I do. As soon as I can get back, I've gotten back to and dialogued quite a few times with the people until they're, you know, feeling like they're better and feeling better. So it's a free counsel.
So the way to get a hold of you is to go that way.
The webpage.
The
Yeah,
webpage.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
can you see the chat? Can you see it in the
What was
chat?
that?
It's in there.
The webpage? I can put it down there.
Well, I put it there. I was going to see if I could bring it up.
Oh, you did? Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And share it. Let's see.
Yeah, margaretmarie.com. And it's you know, it's really easy. You just click on contact Margaret and it'll come right to my email.
I was going to share my screen real quick to see if it'll show up. There it is. So
yeah.
There's, you know, there's the blog is there. There's your mom.
There's my mom. She passed away several years ago, but I wanted to dedicate, you know, an entry to her.
And then there's Connect right there.
And there are many other, I mean, I have written, I can't remember how many, hundreds of entries. So if anybody wanted to go back and read some of the old stuff, you can scan down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's been we've gone about over the 40 minutes. So I think we're
Okay.
good right there.
I think we're good. All right. Well, thanks so much, Sue, for having me.
You're
and
welcome.
Thank all of your library, you know, supports, and tell them I really appreciate it. Okay.
Will do.
Thank you.
We'll
All right.
care.
Thanks everybody who did join in.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.